Okay, after about the third try, I've gotten the 3D printed sock machine to knit, but I ended up having to mount it on this little recliner table. I think I got this at Walmart years ago, and I just turned the board around so that I could have a hole there, but I was only able to attach it on two of the little legs, and I need to probably cut a piece of plywood with a hole in it so that I can mount it level. But it allowed me to hang the weights down and get a lot of weight on it because I wasn't able to cast on unless I had a lot of weight. See if I can get down here without making you sick. But I made my own little cast on basket with a loop on the bottom, and I have to tweak my design a little bit because this loop is really thin and I'm afraid that it's going to crack off. But I've got little holes spaced all the way around it, and I tied some yarn in loops into each one of the little holes. I've got 30 holes on there, and I was able to cast on a lot better because I was able to get weight in an even way all the way around. And I don't know if you can see the cast on basket way down inside of there, but I also have weight on the inside. I still have not been able to get down to the gauge that I want to knit. This is the first one that I knit, and it's about 7 stitches per inch, and I'd like to get down to 8 or 9. This hand knitted sock, I've got 9 stitches per inch, and that fits me really well. I think if the cuff were a rib stitch, then it would be a little bit tighter, but I have not been able to get down to that gauge yet. And it could be that the yarn going into the machine needs to be tensioned, or I need to tweak these knobs a little bit more, but so far I haven't been able to do that. I'm still getting a lot of tuck stitches in there, and usually that is because there's not enough weight. When the needles come up, the old stitch needs to pop down below the latch, and it could be that the needles aren't rising tall enough. I'm not sure, but these are the Brother Ribber needles. I tried the Singer standard gauge needles, and they were too long, and they would probably work better for dropping the stitches below the latch, because they go up taller, but they were too tall for this thread guide. They would come up here and they would miss the thread, so the thread guide would have to be taller if you use taller needles. But I do think that maybe they would drop below the latch a little bit better. So let me see if I can keep this in the camera and crank this a little bit. I've got a 1 pound weight on the inside of my little basket, and I have another 1 pound weight hanging off of that loop on the back. So what I'm watching for is that the stitches are dropping below the latch right here, and I'm also watching the stitches as they exit, so I can catch a tuck stitch if it happens. Hopefully I can get the machine tweaked to where I'm not getting any more tuck stitches, but there's some messed up stitches right there from a previous row. So you can see that it is knitting, but I still have to fix more mistakes than I want. See, there's a tuck stitch there, and I felt it when it happened. So I like to fix them from this side. What it is this stitch should have been pulled through that old stitch that's right there. And what happened was the old stitch did not drop below the latch over here. So I'm going to reach in front of the new loop down below and grab the old loop and pull it forward and then over. So I'm knitting it the way the machine should have. And most of the time you don't want tuck stitches. Tuck stitches can be decorative if you want them, but they have to be planned. And I doubt it would be fun to do on this machine, to do tuck stitches by hand. I thought that was a tuck stitch. But you see, the machine does knit, but it's going to need some tweaking and a lot of weight. You're going to have a nice way to cast on with a lot of weight. So, but I don't want to have to stop every other row and fix tuck stitches. But again, this is only my third time using the machine. So once I get it mounted on a table correctly and all of that, I should be able to work out the issues that I'm having. This is not level on here, so that might have something to do with the weight and all that. So I'm glad I printed this out. It's fun, it's a fun project, and it's very well designed. I think another question that some had was whether or not you could put stitches in hold, like if you were going to do a short row heel and toe. You can pull these needles up. If they are past these little cams over here, you can pull them up and they will stay. So, but if I push this needle back down, that's going to drop that stitch. So what I have to do, if I accidentally pull a needle up that I don't want, you're going to have to put that stitch back in the hook and above the latch. Anything below the latch is going to be dropped off, and you better have yarn to catch it as it goes around. So that's the rule. If a stitch drops below the latch, that's the next one that's going to be dropped off. I will say that I do like this one better than my Addy. I think it's the Addy Express. I'm not sure how many needles the Addy Express has, but the hooks on the Addy Express are really large, so you can only use really thick yarn to get a sock, and I have made socks on the Addy Express. But I like the fact that this machine uses regular knitting machine needles, and I think you're going to be able to get a nicer gauge with smaller weight thread or yarn. So I think it's worth a project that's worth trying.